Hello and welcome to the MAC weather page for this Friday, October 14th, and we've got some pretty active weather coming up here over the next couple of weeks, it looks like, as we see some signs that we may transition into a cooler pattern. But for the meantime, we got a lot of warm weather to talk about right on through the weekend into early next week. Once we get past this frosty morning and a cool day, we'll see our conditions improve quite a bit. So we'll have some sunny and milder conditions today, but still on the chilly side. Highs around 60 most areas. Some areas could get up into the low 60s. And then we'll have some scattered showers and thunderstorms move into the area once we get into Saturday night. And on a scattered basis, that'll last into Tuesday night as it looks right now, before a pretty strong cold front will come through as we get into later next week. And again, warm with 70s from Saturday right on through Tuesday. In fact, some of them could be upper 70s. Wouldn't even be shocked to see a temperature around 80 degrees on Tuesday across far southern lower Michigan, but we'll certainly keep an eye on the warmth here over the next couple of days. Our normals for the day, our normal high is 61, our normal low is 40. And if we look at the conditions around the area yesterday, you can see basically dominated by fair weather clouds and cool conditions, brought in by some breezy conditions. You can see temperatures mainly in the 50s across the area. The high temperature was in Blissfield at 59, with the low temperature over at Newaygo at 36, which is not a big shocker. That's usually one of our colder spots. But since we added Clarksville over in southwest Ionia County, certainly some pretty cool lows there. If we look at the conditions around the area this morning, you can see temperatures in the mid to upper 30s across the area. And so no doubt some of the, that's at the 6-foot level or higher on some of these locations. So down at the surface, certainly temperatures probably well down into the mid 30s, even some low 30s. So I'm sure in many areas there'll be quite a bit of frost out there. If we look at the satellite view this morning, you can see a very powerful system that was the remnants of Hurricane Songday, and then that system's going to crash into the Pacific and create a lot of havoc out there. For us, we're going to be dominated by high pressure. And one of the things I talked about yesterday with the low-level wind fields, when you see not very many well-developed lines, that means generally calmer conditions. And you can see as a high-pressure system moved over the state today, we have fairly light winds out there, clear skies, and that's what's allowed our temperatures to drop quite cool this morning. And you can see that big storm that we're looking at. Again, this was the remnants of Hurricane Songday. And again, as that comes in, Oregon looks to be brought in the worst position as far as winds and rain. We expect over the weekend this will be a pretty big newsworthy event weather-wise, with hurricane-force winds for Oregon, and many locations from northern California up to southern Washington could see over a half a foot of rain with this. So a very powerful system, and that's going to help dig out the trough out west, and that's going to build the heights off to the east and allow our ridge to pump up, giving us quite a bit of warmer conditions here, again, from the weekend right on through the early, maybe even the middle of next week. We'll have to wait and see. It could be pretty warm on Wednesday as well if that system slows. You can see on the weather map this morning, high pressure system now moving off to the east. That's going to allow a return flow and slightly warm air today. And then as we get into tomorrow, you can see a well-established warm front well to the north will be in the southerly flow. And as this front begins to creep ever so slowly towards the area, and it's going to take again till the early middle part of next week, because we're going to have low pressure systems continuously develop and move along that front, preventing that front to move east, as well as the ridging off to the east of us. And by Sunday morning, you can see once again more low pressure systems develop on that front and keep it held up well off to our west. We'll continue to be in the warm flow with a chance of showers and thunderstorms. Right now, though, Sunday looks like it could be pretty wet as we see an impulse. I think it'll come close to the state. And again, I would not be surprised to see amounts of rain late Saturday night into Sunday night in that 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch range. So it could be pretty soggy, especially for the day on Sunday. And if we look at the next map, or the ring I drew down here, this is something we're going to want to watch here over the next 7 to 10 days, 8 to 12 days, something like that. We could see another tropical system, maybe even a hurricane, and it could then move either to the west of Florida or to the east on the Atlantic side. And this could be the last hurrah for the tropical storms for the United States. I mean, never say never, but once this system then eventually moves off to the northeast, and again, we're talking probably 10 to 14 days, something like that, by the time that system develops and moves off. And I think it's after that we could see some significant changes in our weather as we turn the page to November, we could really go into a pretty cold pattern here. It's looking more and more likely like the first half of November could be very interesting. And I think we have a very good opportunity for a white Thanksgiving this year, as right now November looks like it could be a very cold and potentially snowy month with the warm lakes. And again, we could have quite a lake effect set up coming our way here for November. And if we look at the latest SOI index, the Southern Oscillation Index, you can see it's crashed significantly here over the last several days, and that's usually an indicator about 10 to 12 days out that we could see a pretty significant trough develop, and that fits the pattern of what we see on the weather maps as well. So we could be turning quite a bit chillier later next week, and again, that might only be a short, a cold intrusion, much like the one we're in now, but then I think the following one could be a little bit more significant. If we look at the snow map across the northern hemisphere, you can see Mother Nature has been quite busy across the northern portions and central portions of Canada, laying down quite a bit of snow, and this will be the highway for the Siberian Express once we flip this pattern around, which again, it's looking more and more like it's going to be in the first half of November, but again, that things can change. If we look at the precipitation, again, over the next 7 days, quite a bit of precipitation across much of the state. And if you look at the average of all the forecasted amounts here, if it comes to fruition, then that would be the equivalent, just in the state of Michigan, of 1.76 trillion gallons of water if this rainfall in this amount does actually fall. So very interesting. And these maps here are provided by weatherbell.com. And so Ryan Maui really puts together some really nice maps out there for that. So that's weatherbell.com. If you look at the extended outlook, you can see, again, pretty warm air across much of the U.S. as that trough begins to modify a little bit. Then I think we get a reinforcing shot of cold air just beyond some of this forecasted range. And as far as precipitation over the next 6 to 10 days, looks like areas in the Tennessee, Ohio Valley, the Great Lakes off to the east will see greater chances of above normal precipitation. And we may begin to see that ridge begin to build across the west with warmer and drier conditions out there. And that could be the developing pattern of a western ridge and an eastern trough, but we'll wait and see. A lot of time to figure that out. Thanks for stopping by, and have a great Friday, a great weekend, and the 73s to all.